Hey everybody, you're watching Ready Set Drone, and today I want to take a look at a serious competitor to the DJI Avata 2. It's the Emax Cinehawk Mini. We've been flying it a lot and we're pretty excited about it, so stay tuned and we'll compare it to the Avata 2. So if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button because we do a lot of FPV content and we'd love to have you along. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Emax Cinehawk Mini, which is a smaller version of their original Cinehawk. We did a video of the original Cinehawk a little while back, you can check it out. And that was before the Avata 2 came out. So these are kind of both second gen for DJI over here with the Avata 2 and for Emax with the Cinehawk Mini. And I gotta say, these are both great cinematic FPV quads with ducts around them and plenty of flight time and all that stuff. But they differ in a few important ways that we want to share with you. And we want to also give you the idea that if you're looking for something that's not a Avata 2, but still is great with FPV and gives you good footage, is this a viable alternative? Well, the Cinehawk Mini is great in a lot of ways, but I can say that the footage on the Avata 2 is actually better. And that's because it has a bigger camera sensor. It's a 1/1.3, whereas the O3 unit in this, which is also a DJI product, is a 1/1.7. All that means is that this has a bigger sensor, this being the Avata 2, and it has more capability in low light, and the image quality is going to look a little better on the Avata 2 than it's going to look on the Cinehawk Mini because of that bigger sensor. Now, if you're not too worried about that, because they are fairly similar and they're both great pictures, don't get me wrong. Again, you're using a DJI O3 unit in this quad, the Cinehawk Mini, and so it's giving you decent quality, image stabilization, and a lot of options when it comes to your frame rate and your resolution, 4K resolution, 60 frames, all that good stuff. One definite advantage for the Cinehawk Mini is it is smaller and it's lighter. As a matter of fact, it's sub 250 grams. And if you know anything about quadcopters and drones, 250 grams is the point at which you have to register your drone, and some other rules apply to it. Whereas under 250 grams, there's a little more leeway to not register it and to do more things with it. For me, that means that it's going to be a little better to fly around people. It's going to be a little better to fly indoors. And that smaller size is going to make it easier to hit gaps with this over this. I mean, you can see the comparison here between the sizes. It's significant. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough to make this thing easier to fly around people. And again, the sub 250 means that you don't have to register it. One other big advantage of the Avata 2 is flight time. Where you can get 20 minutes pretty easily out of the Avata 2, you're going to max out at about 7 minutes on the Cinehawk Mini. It's just the nature of the beast. The Cinehawk Mini is designed to carry a 850 milliamp hour battery. It's optimized for that. And those batteries don't have the same capacity as the DJI proprietary batteries. They're also a little pickier in terms of storage, and they don't have the smart chips in them and all that sort of thing. So just kind of flight time and battery maintenance is going to be an advantage for the DJI Avata 2 over the Cinehawk Mini. But when it comes to freestyle and being able to do tricks and hit gaps and things like that, the Cinehawk Mini definitely has an advantage over the Avata 2. The Avata 2 does decently at that, but it's really not designed for doing freestyle. It's really not designed for taking it, doing power loops and things like that. The Cinehawk Mini isn't necessarily optimized for that, but it's much better at it because the motors in it are just able to give it a lot more oomph and a lot more kick because it's lighter. It's sub 250. In terms of flight experience, while the Avata 2 is a good flight experience, it's not as good as the Cinehawk Mini. The Cinehawk Mini really flies much more nimbly. It's a lot more agile. You can throw it around, you can hit smaller gaps, and it's definitely more of a pilot's drone. In other words, something that you can fly for fun as well as to get some cool shots with it. The Avata 2 is designed more to get that cinematic footage with an FPV drone and doesn't have quite the agility that the Cinehawk Mini has. So if you're looking to fly something fast and really rip a little bit more with a Cinewhoop style drone, then the Cinehawk Mini is going to be a better choice. So in terms of just ease of use, one of the things that you get with DJI products is they are super easy to get up and flying with. You just slam the battery in the back, very easy to charge. You can charge multiple batteries at once. The batteries have a smart chip in them so they can go to a storage rate and sit for a long time. You don't have to worry about doing that. All of the things you have to do to get the Cinehawk Mini in the air are slightly more complicated and slightly more involved than getting the Avata 2 in the air. So if you're just looking for something you can get up in the air quickly with or travel with and have everything you need and it's pretty easy to fly, the Avata 2 is definitely an advantage there because the kit it comes with is designed to be just super easy to get up and flying with, whereas with the Cinehawk Mini, especially with the battery management, requires a little bit more work and a little bit more effort to keep it going. And then in terms of ability to repair or ability to bash it a little bit more, the Avata 2 does pretty well. It's taken a bashing from both Chris and I on multiple flights, but the Cinehawk Mini does even better. It's got less inertia, so it's not gonna hit anything as hard, and it's designed to be taken apart and fixed. So it's a drone that is more of a self-repair drone, whereas if you do something major to the Avata 2, you're probably gonna have to send it into DJI for repair. So you have to be a little more cautious with the Avata 2 if you don't wanna have to send it in. Whereas with the Cinehawk Mini, if you crash it, break a prop, break the frame, break the prop guard, all of those parts are orderable and replaceable with just a few screws. So it should be pretty easy to fix. One big advantage that the Avata 2 has, and this was something that the Avata 1 had as well, and I had wished for a long time when I started flying FPV, is the ability to rotate the angle of the camera as you're flying with a little wheel on the remote control. The Cinehawk Mini does not have that ability. As a matter of fact, the camera angle is pretty set with these two screws. It takes a tool to adjust the camera angle of the Cinehawk Mini, and you can't adjust it on the fly like you can the Avata 2. And that was interesting because as Chris and I were flying, we actually didn't have a hex wrench with us and we didn't have the camera angle set great. So we found ourselves having to fly a little bit slower with it than we wanted to at times. And knowing that with the Avata 2, you can just turn a wheel on the controller and the camera tips up and down, that's a big advantage for the Avata 2 and a very cool feature of it that I have yet to see on most other FPV drones that aren't made by DJI. So in terms of chasing things like bicycles, skateboards, one wheels, all of those kind of fun things that are fun to chase with a FPV quad, I feel like with the Cinehawk Mini, if it hits you, it's not gonna be a big deal. It's got these ducted props, it's not very heavy, but if the Avata 2 flew in and hit you with any speed, nope, please don't. I don't wanna be hit by that. It would actually kind of hurt. And so I feel like if you're gonna chase something or a person that's not protected by a vehicle or something like that, you're probably gonna be better off with the Cinehawk Mini. In terms of the sound and noise that come from these two, the Cinehawk Mini is actually a little bit quieter and a little bit more pleasing to the ears than the Avata 2. It just doesn't sound quite as loud as the Avata 2, and the Avata 2 is already a big improvement over the Avata 1. So both of these are decent, but you're gonna have a little bit less of that annoying buzzing sound with the Cinehawk Mini. We did put these two through a few power dives to see how it would do going straight down towards the ground from about 200 feet and pulling up at the last second. While the Avata 2 is heavier and not quite as powerful in terms of the power to weight ratio, the Cinehawk Mini is lighter and has more power to weight ratio, and therefore the Cinehawk Mini pulled out very nicely from the bottoms of those dives. We were able to take it down pretty close to the ground, give it some throttle at the very end, and pull out smoothly going between some trees, under trees, over trees, kind of in this big field, and found that you felt very in control as you were diving the Cinehawk Mini and a little bit less in control with the Avata 2. So which one should you get if you're looking to get a ducted Cinewhoop style FPV quad? It really depends. They're both great. They both have really, really good camera quality. They're both DJI cameras, but the camera quality, because of the sensor size on the Avata 2, is a little bit better. If you're looking for convenience and ease of travel and flying, again, Avata 2. But if you're wanting to hit tighter gaps and do more freestyle flying and maybe do more chasing of people and animals and things like that, I wouldn't recommend chasing animals, but you know what I mean. If you're wanting to fly around something that you don't want to injure if you bump into them, the Cinehawk is going to be a good option for you. And it's also going to be a lot more fun to fly because it is a little bit more agile. Love to know what you think about the Avata 2 versus the Cinehawk Mini. Leave a comment below. We've really enjoyed both of these. Thanks to Emax for sending this to us. It is available for purchase. You can get it right now on the Emax website. We'll leave a link in the description, and we'll see you next time on Ready, Set, Drone.